next week. So this is our first page here, a nice overview of the urinary system. So on one side towards the top, we have the term adrenal gland. And then going down on this side here, we have the renal artery, renal hilum, renal vein, kidney, ureter, urinary bladder, urethra, to round off page number 1. Going on to page number 2, the focus here is some of these larger structures that make up the kidney. So, at the top in bold, we have the renal cortex, renal medulla, major calyx, renal pelvis, minor calyx, ureter, renal pyramid, renal column, and don't want to forget down here, so after renal column, we have the fibrous capsule. Moving on to page 3. Page 3 is all focused on the blood vessels that you need to know. So right at the top, we have the cortical radiate vein, cortical radiate artery, arcuate vein, arcuate artery, interlobar vein, interlobar artery, segmental arteries, renal vein, and renal artery. All right, going on to page 4. Everybody go with page 3?
Yes.
Okay, going on to page 4. So now we're looking at the different parts of the nephron. So right up here in bold, we have the renal corpuscle, glomerular capsule, also known as the Bowman's capsule, glomerulus, distal convoluted tubule, proximal convoluted tubule, and then farther down in bold, we have the nephron loop. However, as you've seen our list, you should know it as the loop of Henle. And of course, that is part of there's the descending limb and ascending limb. But again, nephron loop, you should write it on the practical as the loop of Henle. Just like you saw in exam 3, just like you guys went ahead and wrote it down when it came to the homework assignment, so, okay? And then over here, you have the collecting duct. And if I forgot to say distal convoluted tubule, well, you need to know that too. All right, going on to page 5. So right at the top, we have histology here again. I guess the glomerulus is a pretty important one. Maybe it'll be on the practical, huh? This histology piece. But here is the glomerulus right here. Okay. Looking at figure 6 now. So several different items to know here. We have the efferent arteriole. We have the jugular glomerular complex, macula densa cells, granular cells, afferent arteriole, and once again, this whole part here, this whole apparatus portion here is the jugular glomerular complex. All right, going on to page 6. So items to know here. We have the cortical radiate artery, afferent arteriole, glomerular capillaries, efferent arteriole, glomerular capsule, also known as the Bowman's capsule.
Do you care which one we call it on the practical?
Either or is fine,
Okay.
because I think on our sheet I have either or, so.
Okay.
Yeah. And then pitular capillary. All right, page 7. Page 7 is all about the podocyte. So those whole yellow structures, the podocyte, and then one individual part you need to know is the filtration slits. You need to identify those, the filtration slits. And then this picture's nice because it's a zoomed up close portion of the glomerulus. And here are the fenestrations you need to identify. Fenestrations. Because the podocytes, again, they cover the entire glomerulus. So the fenestrations are a part of the glomerulus. Filtration slits are a part of the podocyte. All right, going on to page 8. So items to note here. You need to identify, of course, your two major nephrons on the models. So we have our cortical nephron, and right here we have the jugular-medullary nephron. And right down here we have our petubular capillaries, indicated in the purple there. And then our other capillary type here is the vasa recta, which are literally over that long loop appendage there. All right, page number 9. Looking at the bladder, the urethra. First looking at the male system here. So we have the ureter, detrusor muscle, the trigon of the bladder, or simply like I have in the sheet, trigon is fine. Internal urethra sphincter, external urethra sphincter.
You wanted to choose a muscle?
Yes.
The word muscle?
Okay, and our last page here are the same structures, but now looking at the female system. So right at the top we have the ureter, detrusor muscle, internal urethra sphincter, right over here trigon, and then moving a little bit below here, we don't want to forget the external urethra sphincter and the urethra. Oh, did I forget the urethra on the male? Oh, no, I'm good, okay. I couldn't remember if I did or not. All right. So let's take a look at our models here. There aren't nearly as many like we've been used to lately. So we're going to go over the kidney plaque here. And I know I don't have any models back there for you, Alexis. Are you okay?
Yeah,
Like
I
that?
just can't watch you, I have one on my computer.
Okay. I just wanted to double check.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so there's going to be a number of these on the exam, these kidney plaques. Most of the structures on your list are on here, but of course, like always, not everything, but a good portion of them are on these plaques. So we're going to start from a macro perspective, and then we're going to go down to a very small micro level. And, ooh, that's way too bright, okay. That's too dark. All right, maybe that'll work, okay. All right. So let's go through the parts of the kidney to start off today. So, right here, this outer region of your kidney is the renal cortex. So this is the renal cortex right here. Making our way more internally here, we have the renal medulla. So here's the renal medulla region here. And that region, the renal medulla, contains the renal pyramids. Here, 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 here. These are all renal pyramids here. They look like, almost pyramids, or prehistoric things from the Jurassic period.
So unique.
That was beautiful.
Wasn't that
That's
great?
beautiful.
Yeah. That was really,
They're almost pyramid-like.
yeah.
You're
Just like the Egyptian
You're
pyramids.
my pyramids.
Oh, God.
Hey, you'll remember it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait. Okay, and then this tissue found between the pyramids are the renal columns. So renal column, so those are great examples there. All right, from there, if we go from the renal pyramid, and we go right here, right there, this is where we have the minor calyx. So that duct system right here, we have the minor calyx and minor calyx right there. And then from there, the urine makes its way to this duct area here. This would be where we have a major calyx. So here's a major calyx right there. And then from there, the urine makes its way into this structure here. This is your renal pelvis. So this is all the renal pelvis here, and then it even goes out of the kidney. So it continues down to here, the renal pelvis. This curved part of the kidney here is your renal hilum. So that's right where you have your renal artery and renal vein coming out, and of course the renal pelvis. So that curved part here of the kidney, renal hilum. And then this outer covering in the brown here is where I put a pin here, and this is going to be your fibrous capsule. So this is the fibrous capsule right here. And then just inferior to the renal pelvis, number 3 here and going down, would be the start of the ureter. So this would be the start of the ureter right here. All right, now it's time for the blood vessels. We'll start with the arteries, then we'll go to veins. So first right here, this is the renal artery. This is the renal artery right here. And then if we take a closer view now, look at how lovely that is, huh? So renal artery. And then these branches here represent the segmental arteries. So these are the segmental arteries right here. All right, and then going up, this artery right here is an example of the interlobar artery. So here's the interlobar artery right here, always found between the renal pyramids. And then following this up, the interlobar artery, to the top up here we have the arcuate artery. So arcuate artery, arcuate artery, arcuate artery right there. They're always on top of the renal pyramids, the arcuate arteries. And then our last artery, right here, which are extending into the renal cortex, we have the cortical radiate artery. So cortical radiate artery right here, right here, right here, right here. Great examples of the cortical radiate artery. All right, from here, of course, we go to arterioles, but they're just way too small in this model. So we're gonna jump right to the veins instead. So right here in the blue would be a cortical radiate vein. So we zoom in here. Cortical radiate vein right there. And then from there, the oxygen poor blood goes into the arcuate artery. So here's the arcuate artery right here. And then from there, we go right here, we have our interlobar vein right here. So interlobar vein. And then from there aren't any segmental veins, so then the interlobar vein ultimately goes all the way down and connects up down here to the renal vein right there, so renal vein. All right, so now what we're gonna do is go to the middle model. So imagine us just focusing in on one little chunk of the kidney here, and we magnify that area by 120 times. That's what we're gonna see right next door right here. Right there. So first we'll start with blood vessels again, and then we'll go over the parts of the nephron. So starting with our arteries, so right here, this artery is your interlobar artery. So here's the interlobar artery. And then right up here, this is the arcuate artery right there. So arcuate artery. There's a nice close-up of it. Arcuate artery. Then from there, we go into the cortical radiate artery. So here's the cortical radiate artery right here, and likewise right here. All right, from here, here's a lovely view. Here's that cortical radiate artery. The oxygen-rich blood now will make its way in to the afferent arteriole, which is right here, 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 right here, afferent arteriole. Still oxygen-rich blood, of course. And then the blood goes into the glomerulus. So here's an example of the glomerulus right here. Okay? And again, no gas exchange occurs here. The glomerulus is important for forming a filtrate. The yellow that you see here would represent the Bowman's capsule, okay? And then our other side here, because this would be the afferent arteriole, the blood goes into the glomerulus like so, and then the blood goes into the efferent arteriole, still oxygen rich. So here's the efferent arteriole. Then the blood from the efferent arteriole will go right here. And right here, we have our tubular capillaries. So tubular capillaries. This is where the gas exchange will occur, within the tubular capillaries. So then on the other side of the capillaries end, we have oxygen poor blood. And the oxygen poor blood will then make its way to the cortical radiate vein that you see right here. So cortical radiate vein. Then from there, right along here, that number 7 in the blue, once again, this is the arcuate vein. So here we have the arcuate vein. And then from there, from the arcuate vein, going down in the blue here, right here is our interlobar vein. Interlobar vein. And then our other capillary type that we can see on this model right here is the vasorecta capillaries. So vasorecta capillaries right here. And that's a part of the vasorecta right there. But I usually put the pin over there. So vasorecta capillaries right here. Now let's take a look at the nephron. We can see our two major nephron types here. So we have our cortical nephron right here. It's a cortical nephron because of the very short loop of Henle you see here. And then our other nephron type right here, this is your jugular medullary nephron, which has a very, very long, long loop of Henle here. It goes very deep into the renal pyramid. So let's look at the parts of the nephron now. Get a little bit more light here. There we go. Look how lovely that is. So, starting with the glomerulus, right here. The glomerulus, of course, important for forming filtrate. Glomerular filtration occurs here. And then surrounding the glomerulus in the yellow would be your Bowman's capsule. Bowman's capsule. From here, the filtrate leaves the Bowman's capsule and makes its way to this twisted coiled part here of the nephron. This is called the proximal convoluted tubulum. From here, the filtrate then goes to the loop of Henle. So, proximal convoluted tubulum, and then the loop of Henle. The first part going down is called the descending limb. So here we have the descending limb loop of Henle going down. And when you get around the bottom, then the filtrate goes up this way. And this part of the loop of Henle is called the ascending limb. So ascending limb loop of Henle here. Then the filtrate makes its way up into the distal convoluted tubule right here. And then from there, the filtrate pours into your collecting duct. This long, light yellow vertical structure here is the collecting duct. And again, there's many nephrons that are dumping their filtrate into that collecting duct. And ultimately then we form urine. Now, we're going to get even smaller on the microscopic level. We're going to focus in on the glomerulus and Bowman's capsule next, which is going to be this lovely picture right here. All right. So, here we have it, right here. Lovely, lovely. Oh, a little too bright. Oh, that's good. Okay, so right here, this represents the afferent arteriole, You notice how thick the wall layer is, so afferent arterial. And then the blood is driven into the glomerulus. So what looks like a red shrub here would be your glomerulus, your glomerular capillaries. And then this structure right over here then represents the efferent arterial, and the wall is much thinner here. Efferent arterial, again, is under low blood pressure. Afferent arterial is under very high blood pressure. Taking a look now back at the glomerulus, we're going to zoom in. We're going to zoom all the way in, as far as we can go. And now we just need this thing to focus. Stay. There we go. All right. So, see these small little pores, those circular pores, you see them? Very tiny. All right here, all these little pores. Those are the fenestrations. See where the hint's important, because they're so small. These are all the fenestrations, okay? Not the red circle you see there. Those red circles are nuclei. But these small little circles here are the fenestrations that you see on the glomerulus. In the yellow, right next door, we have the podocytes. So these are the podocytes right here. And the one part of the podocyte that you need to know are the filtration slits. So see these coiled structures here? They look kind of wormy looking. These are the fenestrations here. Or not, excuse me, not the fenestrations, filtration slits. Filtration slits. So these are all the filtration slits you see here on the podocyte. All right, other items to know off the model. So surrounding your glomerulus here is your Bowman's capsule. So this is the Bowman's capsule right here, Bowman's capsule. When we talk about the glomerulus and the Bowman's capsule combined, that's known as the renal corpuscle. Okay, so glomerulus and Bowman's capsule combined is known as the renal corpuscle. And then right off the bottom of the Bowman's capsule here, this would be the start of the proximal convoluted tubulum. So this is the start of the proximal convoluted tubulum. Going back up here, right up here, this is going to be your complex. So that jugular glomerular complex. So the complex is made up of our two major types of cells, and of course the afferent arterial. These cells right here that line the afferent arterial and efferent arterial are called the granular cells. These are the granular cells right here. And then these cells in the green are your macula densa cells. Macula densa cells. And they line, again, more the top portion of the ascending limb loop of Henle and part of the distal convoluted tubule. So macula densa cells and granular cells. All right, so lots of lovely items on this model, huh? So you'll see all the plaques in this classroom on the practical problem. So. All right, the next model we'll go through is this one right here, which looks like a square, since we're still kind of on the nephron theme. I don't want to jump around too much, so we'll go through this one next. All right. So there's a number of things on here, but there's certain things I like to use for practicals. So some of those items, more likely than not, that I could use. Just literally I can spend a half hour going through this whole little model here. So this model's nice because, again, we're able to see the two major types of nephrons. So here's the cortical nephron right here. Once again, short loop of Henle, cortical nephron. And then right here, we have the jugular medullary nephron right here. And look at how long that loop of Henle is. So that's the big way to differentiate between the two, really, is that length of the loop of Henle. And then right in the middle here, in the light yellow, is your collecting duct once again, collecting duct. Right over here, there's a couple things I like right here in this image. Well, the collecting duct's not too bad. And then this is really cool. Look at, there's the vasorecta capillaries. We can see those very clearly right here, the vasorecta capillaries. Then if we look on the other side of the model, so we're taking a look at this view now. This is very nice. So right here is your afferent arteriole. So afferent arteriole. This is the glomerulus once again, so glomerulus. And right up here is the efferent arteriole. The pink here is supposed to represent the podocytes. So they're not yellow this time, but this company, model company, decided to make them pink. But these, believe it or not, are the podocytes. And then right here is your Bowman's capsule again. So here's your Bowman's capsule surrounding the glomerulus. Again, when you have the glomerulus and the Bowman's capsule combined, that's of course known as the renal corpuscle. And then right down here, oh well. Right here, we have the start of the proximal convoluted tubule right there. Other items to know off this model. Right up here again is our complex, right? Our jugular glomerular complex. So these cells here in the purple represent the granular cells. So granular cells right here, granular cells right here. And then these cells in the purple right here are the macula densa cells, once again. So these are the macula densa cells. All right, so this model's always usually on the practical. So, I stole your model.
I have to leave, I have a appointment. You want me to do anything for you?
Oh, if you can spray down your table before you go. Would you like these models?
Yes.
Could you put them away before you go? Okay. So that one actually goes right in there. And then the urinary stand model goes in that cabinet back over there that's open. And the kidney plaque goes right over there, number 20.
Okay.
And then if you could kindly spray your
Gotcha. There
yeah.
it
All right, the next model we're going to go through is the urinary stand model, because this one's always on the exam. There, that looks pretty nice. Thank you.
Yep.
So we have our kidneys. So here's the right kidney, and here's the left kidney. And we can also see the renal hilum again, this indentation point of the kidney, here and here. And then the light green that you see here represents the renal pelvis. That's the part that comes out of the kidney. So renal pelvis right here, renal pelvis right here. And then in the orange up here is the adrenal gland. So here and here, we have our adrenal gland. And then in the red, this is our renal artery once again. So renal artery and renal artery. And then right below that, in the blue, is the renal vein. So renal vein and renal vein. And the renal vein is always going to be inferior to your renal artery. So that's kind of how that works there. All right, now going down. In the yellow, these thin tubes are your ureters. Okay, so ureter right here. Now, mine's a little messed up because someone put this on a very minor vein there. But believe it or not, it would be coming off the renal pelvis too. Don't want anyone to think that the one side on the right, the ureter goes into a vein. It looks like they glued it on there, but it literally would be coming off that renal pelvis. So I probably won't use this model for the ureters so no one gets confused. But here we have the ureters coming down like so. And then right down here then, we have our bladder. Thanks. Drop wrapping everything up here.
See ya.
Yep. So right here is our bladder, urinary bladder here. And usually for the bladder, for labeling purposes, I usually put a pin right on the top here for the urinary bladder. All right, now I'm going to open up this bladder, and let's take a look inside. And there's a couple items you need to know off the bladder. Guess we'll zoom this in here. So one item you need to know, right in the white here, this is called the trigon. So there's the trigon in the bladder. So again, that's where the urine collects first. So trigon. And then right along here, the sides of the bladder here is typically where I label the detrusor muscle. So detrusor muscle, right here is where I usually label that. And then right down here, kind of in the peach going down, would be your urethra. So that's your urethra right here. And then right at the base of the bladder, right here approximately, is where we would label the internal urethra sphincter. So internal urethra sphincter would be right here. Unfortunately, the way this model is, we're not able to see the external urethra sphincter. But don't worry, there are some other models to show you that. Well, that's everything on this model, and there's usually a good number of these on the exam too. So, last two I'm going to go through with you are these plaques here on the wall. Because sometimes they make appearances on the practical.
So excited.
Yes. So we'll go through the female one first, and then we'll go through the male one here first. All right. So here we have the bladder once again. So this is the bladder. The lining here of the bladder is going to be your detrusor muscle. Internally, right here is where I could label the trigon, so trigon. And then right here is the urethra of the female. So here's the urethra of the female here. And then right at the base of the bladder right here is where we would have the internal urethra sphincter, which would be right there, internal urethra sphincter. And then for the female, for the external urethra sphincter, you have to go all the way down the urethra, and it literally would be right here and right here is where we have the external urethra sphincter, where I would label it. Okay? So now we'll take a look at the male and see how that differs. So, looking now at the male's urethra and bladder, etc. Here is the urinary bladder of the male. And the lining here would be your detrusor muscle. Right in here would be your trigon, so trigon. And then right here would be the male's urethra, which that's the major difference, is the length of it. Because the urethra starts below the bladder, goes right through his prostate gland, and then runs all the way down his penis here. So all the way down there. All right, now the sphincters. So for the male, if we go right at the base of his bladder, that's where you have the internal urethra sphincter, right here and right here. So that's the same location as the female. The difference lies with the external urethra sphincter. That's where the difference lies. So for the male, for the external urethra sphincter, if you follow the urethra down through the prostate gland, and you get to right about here, right before we start the penis, is right where we have the external urethra sphincter. So it would be right here and right here. This is where the male's external urethra sphincter would be. That's typically where I label it. So it's right before the penis starts. And right at the bottom of the prostate gland is where you find the male's external urethral sphincter. So, all right, made it through all the models. Any questions? Good. I have a couple extra models here, but again, we've gone through a lot of the things. I think we get the gist of it. But sometimes these additional models up front make it on the exam too. So, all right, guys, that's all I have for you today. So enjoy your afternoon. We'll see you Thursday. I'll have a practice practical set up and we'll be dissecting the pig kidneys. So, if you did touch any of your models at all, please make sure to wipe them down with the baby wipes that we have up front here. And your models, where they go, the kidney plaques, they go in the cabinet right behind Taylor. And the urinary stand models go in that large cabinet that's open back there.